So British Gas has become the second of the big six energy providers to announce massive price increases this winter, and it's gone even further than SSE with an increase of a total of 10.4% in electricity charges and 8.4% in gas tariffs. The news came as the Chancellor ended his visit to China with the announcement of Chinese investment in a planned new British nuclear plant. But it can't come too soon to avert the threatened power shortages in the next few years, as our political editor Gary Gibbon now reports from Hinkley Point in Somerset.
Energy's dominated the political stage since Ed Miliband promised voters he'd freeze their bills for 20 months. Today, it was back centre stage with the announcement of more price hikes, worries about blackouts and the prospect of new nuclear energy plants built by China. Starting with a new Hinkley C in Somerset to be built next to Hinkley A, out of service, and Hinkley B coming to the end of its life.
2 new nuclear reactors here will help with supplies, but as you can see, they're not going to be around for years. In the meanwhile, a government-commissioned report today said that there is a serious risk of power cuts over the next 5 years. And all this on a day when British Gas decided to announce way above inflation price increases for its customers on their electricity and gas bills. In the politics of energy, today was a perfect storm.
British Gas will raise electricity prices by 10.4%, gas by nearly 8.5% too, starting next month. The government said customers should shop around for cheaper suppliers. British Gas said it was making a modest 5% profit and merely reacting to market energy prices and government levies to help poorer customers and the environment.
There are costs that are not directly in our control. There are several of them. That's the cost of buying the energy on the global market, the cost of upgrading the networks to cope with the future energy infrastructure. Those costs are going up too. And there's also the cost of the government's social and environmental obligations, which are paid for through bills. So all those 3 things are rising.
The government said it would force energy companies to be more open about their profit levels. Ed Miliband accused the government of not being tough enough on the electricity and gas companies.
Week after week, we see energy companies putting up prices, putting millions of families and businesses into further and further trouble, and we see a Prime Minister who is too weak to act. He's standing up for the energy companies, not standing up for the consumer.
It's extremely disappointing news for British Gas customers. British Gas will need to justify their decision openly and transparently to bill payers.
A government-commissioned report by the Royal Academy of Engineering says Britain faces 5 years of uncertainty over energy supply, and the moment of maximum danger of blackouts comes next winter.
Hinkley B was built in 1976. They're actually managing to get a few extra years of supply out of it. But in general, the story of British Energy is that we're decommissioning old power stations, particularly the coal-fired ones, bang on schedule. The problem is we're about 3 years behind in bringing on new generators. In the case of Hinkley, 5 years off schedule.
The Royal Academy of Engineering says the delays because energy companies just don't feel confident they know what government long-term policy is.
For investors in generating plants, the future is not very clear and certain because of the uncertainties around the market conditions and other factors. Most of these are international companies. So with the available investment that they've got, it may be that they will find that investment in other areas provides them with a more certain return than investment today in the UK can be guaranteed to give them.
Not very long ago at all, Britain was telling the Chinese, thanks for the offer of investment in our nuclear power industry, but no thanks. Today, that changed dramatically. China looks like owning about 1/3 of the plant that will be built here. And George Osborne in China today signalled that he could imagine 100% ownership by the Chinese state of future nuclear power plants built in Britain.
Right. So there are special safety procedures. Yes.
George Osborne, visiting a nuclear power plant under construction in Taishan in southern China, hailed a new age of Chinese investment in British energy.
I want to see Chinese investment in the British nuclear power industry. First as a partner with others, but I can see the Chinese becoming majority owners of a British nuclear power plant.
But George Osborne knows whoever builds up British energy capacity won't be doing it for love. They'll want guaranteed returns on investment, and that means customers will end up having to pay more through taxes or still higher energy bills. Gary Gibbon, Channel 4 News at Hinckley in Somerset.